Today we are joined by Jonathan Morgan, who is a very well-known estate agent from South Wales, a 4-branch, soon to be 5-branch operation. And he's here today to talk about his story about taking over his father's estate agency, and now he's taking it on to bigger and better things, and the trials and tribulations and what he's been through on that journey. So thank you for joining me today, Jonathan.
No problem, pleasure to be here.
Okay, so obviously estate agency was in your blood when you started, because obviously your father had the estate agency, obviously your dad's called Peter. So did you always want to be an estate agent when you grew up?
My first word was house, and that's actually true.
Okay.
And then, no, it was the opposite. It was everything other than being an estate agent.
Okay.
First memories are being in the office. I can remember sticking with Pritt stick pictures onto brochures from photocopiers and replicating them. And I remember thinking, that's not a job for me. Obviously, I didn't have the overall view of what an estate agent was at the time.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Were you an only son, or did you have any?
No, I've got a younger brother who had a brief flit in the family business,
Okay.
and now lives abroad.
In estate agency, or?
No, he's a writer, so a published writer and author, so he's doing very well.
Lovely, lovely. So when you were sticking, obviously in Wales you didn't have such thing as pictures with, when you actually stuck, you had to put Pritt stick on. Oh dear. Next you'll be telling me you didn't have electricity down there.
No, it's on a wind-up wheel.
What did you want to be when you were growing up?
It was always something with people and projects. I've always enjoyed that. One of the things I always wanted to be was a civil engineer. I'm colourblind, so as I was getting older and starting to realise things, there were certain things I couldn't do. Can't fly a helicopter as well. But no, civil engineer or marketing, so it's quite a varied option.
So this is during your teenage years?
Yeah.
We'll come to your dad in a second, but what did you learn from your mum growing up?
Attention to detail. That was always really important. So they were a team in the business. She was the main administrator and coordinator of everything. So it was always doing the small things right. That was really important.
Because let's be honest, normal, if your dad's an out and out estate agent, you wouldn't let estate agents anywhere near detail. I mean, God forbid, not even lettings there. Would you?
No.
You're quite well known in the industry. We've seen your videos. You're an outward going sort of bloke. Are you just like a younger version of your dad?
Yeah, and as I'm getting older, more and more people are telling me that as well. I think if he'd been my age now doing what we were doing, he would definitely be doing the same route and the same media embrace.
So what did you learn from your dad growing up? Not since you've been in the business, but
everything, basically. He's still my hero now. Everything that I look at, everything I see that he does, whenever I come across a problem, I'm not sure, and he's the first person I'll pick up the call to. He's a very calm person. I'm 100 miles an hour 100% of the time. My dad is the opposite to that. He's definitely got a good handle on it, and not a lot ruffles it.
Okay, so if your dad's an outward-going people person, but not as out there as you, and your mum is very detail-orientated, and they tend not to be outward-going, where does that come from? Grandparents?
I suppose so. Yeah, it's detail's my nightmare as well. I love an idea and getting things off the ground. That's why I loved listing properties, because it's a case of doing all the fun things and then passing the admin over into the office and getting that done. And the business runs like that now. I've got a great team around me that I've purposely recruited to help with that.
So you're aware of your weaknesses?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Okay, I mean, most estate agents aren't self-aware of their weaknesses. When did the penny drop on that?
First time I forgot something on a listing, about 10, 12 years ago. Came back to the office, got asked the question, and the girls will be laughing in the office now, because they often ring me and ask me, where's the boiler or where's something. I still love to go out and do listings. Okay. Part of that is, always trying to remember all of the details and all the important things. Especially now with the culture that we're in as well, is making sure that everything's crossed and dotted. So we've got a very strict process to make up for my shortfalls.
So that process has been basically driven around you because you're shit at it?
Yes, 100%. That is it. I'm fully aware that admin is not my strong point.
So you were doing your teenage years. So you were born in 88. You were at school till 2004. Did you GCSEs?
Yeah, all my GCSEs, passed all those, fortunately. Then during the summer months of that year, then I went to start working in our offices, got dropped off in the morning by my dad, picked up at the end of the day by my dad, and then worked in between college. So I did business and English and politics in college.
Were you working in the same office? Did your dad have multiple offices at the time?
Yeah, a lot more.
Okay. I worked in my family business from the age of 9, washing pots, because we've got a butchery business.
Okay.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but were you treated any differently because you were the boss's son?
Yeah and no. In all fairness, a lot of the team that was there is still involved in the business now, the management team, and I've got fond memories from growing up with those, and I see them as...
They're almost aunties and uncles to them.
Yeah, essentially. So I spent a lot of time, learned a lot of life lessons as well in the business, not taking things for granted, not letting your reputation or namesake guarantee you a place at the table, because that's really important. You know, coming into a family business, people have a preconceived idea of what you're going to be, and I've always believed I should be the first one there and the last one to leave.
Did you ever get your fingers burnt?
Yes, 100%.
Have you got some stories that you wish to share?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So basically, I can remember once my manager at the time was on holidays. Weather was really nice.
How old were you at the time?
19.
Okay, so had you just joined the business by then?
I'd been there 3 years then,
Okay.
full time.
Okay.
So 2 years full time. Yeah, so he was away. A senior member of staff said to me, "Oh, the weather's lovely. Why don't you shoot off early and go down the beach with your partner and enjoy?" So I did. I came in then on a Monday. Manager showed in my office. He said, "Who are you to tell people that you're the boss's son and you're finishing early because the sun is shining?" And then I learned a very quick lesson: is that not everybody has your best interests at heart, even if they work with you. So I've taken that life lesson and definitely taken everything with a pinch of salt since that day.
Was it a nice day down the beach?
It was a nice day and the chips were fantastic. But yeah, I still remember it now. So,
Any other lessons?
to be honest, that was it. Yeah, that's the one that resonated.
Are
with
you
me.
glad that you had that on quite early?
Yes, you know, I still.
So whilst you were the boss's son, there were still people responsible for you.
Yeah.
You direct line.
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, I worked for 6 days a week in 6 different offices with a different manager every day.
Why?
To get a really steep learning curve to see how everybody works differently. To see
How long did you do that for?
A couple of years. So it's a sharp
How
learning.
could you almost get going if you're flitting from one office to another?
I think that was the whole point of the plan, that my dad wanted me to understand every office, every role, every duty, so that when we've verticalized things now and we've changed things, I still go back to what I learned prior. So when we went paperless, for example, I knew the process from start to finish of exactly what I needed to get done with the automation tray that we've built, because I used to carry files around every office in the back of my car. That was when, you know, we didn't have digital viewings. I had to print out sheets, you'd have a key box. And it was a clever way because it ensured that I was always the last back to the office, because I had to take the keys back because I wasn't there for a week. So my feedback was done, my information was handed over, keys were reported back.
But you weren't the boss, you were negging or were you valuing at this time?
No, absolutely not. No, I was absolute bottom rung of the ladder.
So how long you were probably viewing assistant early doors?
Saturdays, I used to walk to appointments in the town centre that I could get to start doing viewings because I was desperate to do it. And then a good few years as admin in the office. Then I was trusted, obviously, to go out once I passed my driving test and do some lower end viewings. And then I still remember going to my very first listing.
Did you get it on the market?
It's a funny story. It's in Leslie Street in Port Talbot, and I'll never forget it because the smell and the horror still sticks with me now, that it was back in the heydays of Northern Rock repossessions. I was asked to go and attend the repossession, and the lady had left about 100 cats and 200 tins of cat food and cat litter in the house, locked in there. So went through the door, lasted 15 seconds, and came back out, changed my shirt to a white one, as advised by the bailiff. And then when I went in, realised why he told me to put a white shirt on, because I was covered in fleas. But yeah, so that one stuck with me. That was my first listing. We got it and sold it. So. But yeah, it took me a long time to have a cat.
Why didn't you go to university?
I was acutely aware that when I was finishing college, the housing market was changing. The internet was coming into the business. We had lots of satellite offices.
So this was what, 07, 08, around there?
End of 06, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was
still okay then.
We
07 was beginning. 07 is when she started to.
We saw, well, I suppose my dad would have had more of an influence on it, and we were seeing what was happening. So we were seeing the internet was becoming more prolific at that point. There was no need to have an office a mile away from another office. So what we were doing was downsizing then And I became acutely aware that I was able to, what I'd been doing, able to help out a lot more by being in the family business. So I got into 2 different unis, deferred those for a year, decided to go into the business, and I was hooked.
They're still waiting for you.
Still waiting for me now, yeah. So
What were you going to read if you did go?
it was going to be marketing and business in Bristol.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Which isn't that far from where you live.
That's pretty much where I would have ended up now anyway, yeah.
So when did you get your first office?
That was Llanelli office, and it would have been about 10 years ago now. It was a further out branch from our call centre. I went down there as a holiday cover originally, worked alongside the team that was there, but I was 25 and thought I knew best. So I started to question
So you've
things.
been in the business now 5, 6 years,
6 years, yeah.
but you hadn't had a branch for 7 years. So what were you doing? You were just being negs and valuers.
Sales negotiator, yeah.
Were you ever exacerbated by the fact is that you'd been in the business, you still hadn't done a branch?
Yeah.
Was it
incredibly frustrated every single day? It was a laboured point by me every day. Would be like, what's happening? When am I having it? When am I having it? When am I having it? And it taught me patience in business because I do believe not everything should be given to you should work for it. And I definitely feel like that was a long journey.
You said earlier on in the chat that the business is very much like a family business. Was it a case of almost waiting for dead man's shoes?
A little bit as well, yeah. I think that was a case that there was people in those roles at those times doing the right job. We weren't getting any bigger, we weren't getting any smaller, so there was nowhere to go. And in a way, I'm really glad because when it did happen, it was in a very interesting time. And I was very sure of my abilities.
Yes, because if you think about it, if you joined in 06 and you didn't get your first office till say 11 or 12, you had those dodgy years of 08, 09 and 10, which you need the experience, and no matter how much attitude you have, those are tough years, weren't they?
They were, I can remember doing 25 viewings on a Saturday, a box of keys on the front seat, brochures, offer forms, rejection letters, and you'd go out and you'd have a full day of 25 viewings and you wouldn't have an offer, nothing, and it was the same next week, all week, and there was nobody buying property. It was really tough, which I was glad then that I was in the family business because, as part of propping it up and doing what was needed to be done. So I learned a lot from that, and that nothing comes easy. You've got to work at it, and that stuck with me all the way through.
So when you did get your first office, how did that feel?
It was very exciting driving home that day, because events transpired and it ended up coming to me to run. I was excited all the way home, and then I probably slept for about 45 minutes all night, and then I had the longest drive down to the office in the morning, opening it up thinking, that's on me now.
But the staff and colleagues in the office knew you because you'd been working there for many years.
Yeah, they changed, a full change of house, completely clean
Really?
sweep, yeah. So I was in on my own. My brother came with me, and then I hired a good number 2 who stayed with me for a couple of years.
So did the whole office go at the same time?
Yeah,
then?
clean sweep, yeah.
Good and bad, isn't it?
It was a very pivotal moment for me because I learned a lot very quickly there. Again, that if you want something done, you've got to do it yourself. And I still believe now that, as soon as I wake up in the morning, I pick up my phone, doing emails. It's just culture.
What do you like at delegation now?
I'm getting better.
Or does the system allow for that? Because the system allows for delegation. You said you.
Yeah, we've
you're
built
not
it
very
around the weaknesses. Yeah, so it's definitely getting better.
How have you learnt that? Has that just come from experience and just time served?
No, mental health more than anything really is that it got to the point where you can't physically do everything and then you end up doing nothing. And that was, again, one of the sharp learning curves from having an office, thinking that being there meant that you were being productive, and it's not always the case.
So how was those first few years then at Llanelli?
I loved it. It was a case of to put my own stamp on the business. We have monthly managers meetings at the time that was chaired by my father, and then each manager would have a seat at the table. So that was kind of my eureka moment there, really, having a seat at that table. So it was like,
You're in the big boys league.
Yeah, I want to change all these things. I've got all these ideas.
So you still had you weren't a director in the firm or anything like that?
Absolutely nothing.
How did the other managers treat you? Because now you were sitting at their table.
It was an arm around the shoulders moment, and it was really nice. And 2 of those managers are still working in the business with me now, and that's great. That has its own interesting moments because obviously
they were your boss one day.
Yeah, they were,
were
yeah.
in the past, and now it's the other way around.
I still call them both boss now out of affection and the way that it is. And I still look to them both for advice and guidance.
Okay, but how do you, let's just say they need, not reprimanding, but need sorting out. Do you have a problem with that?
No, business is business and personal is personal. You know, there's no room for sentiment in business, whether it's a big multinational business or a small one. You've still got to keep the lights on. You've still got to do the things that have got to be done in order to succeed. And now more than ever, that's more important because there's no second chances. There's no ability for wiggle room. Everything is so expensive. Every mistake can cost you thousands. So you've got to get it right first time.
When did your father give you a directorship in the business?
Doesn't feel like very long ago, to be honest. It would be 5 years.
Okay.
5 years.
That's when you took over full control, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how old were you then? You were what?
30.
30.
Yeah.
How old was your dad?
He would have been 66.
Okay. So he had you quite late, didn't he?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
For selling too many houses.
Yeah, too busy selling houses, yeah.
During those years up till that, I believe you were adopting social media particularly well. What made you go into, not video, because I know you've done videos in the last 3 or 4 years, but what made you adopt social media as an early adopter?
So when I took over the office, it had a very low level of stock, which is one of the reasons why I took it over. We took it from 19 to 150 properties. And what I was finding at the time was, there was a stat that I heard from a Google salesperson that came to me that more people join social media every minute than were born in the UK. So it was a case of, we were waiting still for weekly newspapers coming out for property adverts. You know, I was writing an article at the time and I was sharing that to social media and I was getting good traction from people asking questions. And that was it. So it was a case of, we posted a few properties as pictures. And I remember going into the managers meeting saying, right, every house we list, we're going to put on Facebook. And I was booed out of the room. It's so stupid. Nobody's going to want their house on social media. Why would people look at it? And then all of a sudden, you know, it's now the minimum contribution to social media and listings. But at the time, it was a case of how do we do something different? In Llanelli, particularly, it was a low house price, low fee culture, which I hate. Anyway, I'm sure we'd talk about that. But it was trying to do something different and differentiate from it, is why I believe we could charge a higher fee. And I was adamant, being around 30 years old or 26 years old, that social media would become the next thing. I was confident. So it was a case of putting all my chips on that.
How long before your colleagues, because you were just a branch manager at the time, how long before your colleagues said, what you said is bang on?
Last week. No, a few years. It was a case of, our company's always been run by different branch managers in their own way in order to make it a success, because each town is different. Particularly in South Wales, you have completely different cultures and different traditions almost in each town. So it was left alone, and it was something that I did, and it grew the stock incredibly well, incredibly quickly.
Did you have other branches go, well, actually, hold on a second, I think he's got something, I'm going to copy him?
Yes, and that's still the case now, that, you know, head office with me will do something first, and then it rolls out across the firm. If it's a success, or if it's wrong, I hold my hands up and say, oops, that one didn't work.
So you said that your father gave you full control in the business 5 years ago. You just had a son
Yep.
with your partner?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Okay. Well, you're only just engaged with her, haven't you?
Yeah, just got engaged, yeah.
Hold on a second, aren't you supposed to do that the other way around?
Yes, I know, I'm impatient.
So, what's the name of your partner?
Callie.
What does she bring to the party?
She's my calming person, and she keeps me on the straight and narrow. There's not many people that I listen to, and she's one of the few people that will put me back in my place. It's a really strange position to be in, that to run a business with people around you who look to you. We've got around 30 staff, and they look at me for answers for everything. So sometimes it's nice to come home and know you haven't got to have the answers, even if it's just what we got for dinner, or, you know, where you're going to go for a walk or something. So she's really strong in that sense and holds me up for me to make the decisions that keep the business.
What else does she do for you?
Pretty much everything, to be honest.
Okay. I mean, obviously you've got your son.
Yeah.
Is she a homemaker, or does she have her own business?
No, she's actually just found out today she's got into university for nursing. So
Lovely.
She's making a career from it as well. So I'm super proud of her today.
Excellent. Well done. That's going to be tough on you, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be good. But, you know, I do believe that every opportunity should be taken. There's nothing worse than looking back thinking, I wish I'd done that. And that's the same with everybody.
How does she, you are if you don't mind me saying, you're a very outward going sort of person, but you're definitely not cocky. Does she help with that? Because confidence and cockiness, there is a. I've never seen you step over into cockiness, by the way. But how does? But having confidence can be quite easy to.
Yeah.
Is that a self belief, or is that someone that Kelly can sort of Kelly can do?
I've always believed that, you know, there's always somebody out there who's better than you or working harder than you, and I'm acutely aware of that. But yeah, Carly keeps me, like I said, in my box as well. She's got an amazing ability to call me on anything if I get a little bit outlandish.
Well done, by the way. So, you took over full control just before COVID hit.
Yeah.
Can you remember your first day being in control totally? Or was it just the same?
To be honest, nothing changed and everything changed. You know, from 16 years old, living and breathing the business every single day, it's just natural, you know, and I've loved it in the sense that I've always just wanted to have the responsibility to do it. I've always felt like it was my time. And I'm so proud of my dad for doing what he's done for so long, but it became very important to me that I could release that stress from him so that he could enjoy still worked in the business, but I wanted to do the running of it. So that's the worst bit. That's the fun bit that nobody sees. So.
Did you make any major changes?
A lot, yeah. So essentially during COVID, I had the idea that we wanted to become the group rather than just sales and lettings agent. So we've rebranded with a new group logo, a central phone number. We've opened a new financial services called PM Financial, which is invested in a new office. We actually offer white label mortgage services for other agents. So we go and train them to produce mortgages. The lettings business is growing, and then our sales offices. And then recently we've downsized the number of sales offices because I'm going to be doing some renovation works to one of the properties. But what we've done is centralize the number, centralize the resources, and try to shrink the area that we cover so that we can do a better job.
Shrink the area?
Shrink the area, yeah.
So how many offices? You've got 4 at the moment, soon to be 5, because I know you bought one. We won't mention the name now. But when did you close the last one?
That was 8 weeks ago.
Is that the first time you've closed an office?
First time closed an office from poor performance. We did close Llanelli because of COVID. We moved it into the Park of Scarlets, which became an NHS hospital, and nobody told us. So that was interesting. So we had to close that one.
Yep.
But this one, no, this was a decision from performance to close.
Was the boss lady, one of those managers that been there for a long time?
Yeah, he's now working with me in the Neath Talbot County head office. It was just one of those things that the market has changed massively. We've got to move with it as an industry and as a business. That wasn't moving fast enough to get to the point that we needed it to. And it was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do.
Looking someone in the eye saying you've been made redundant?
No, he's still working for me, but just
Did you have to make anyone redundant?
No, we didn't, fortunately. We've lost some staff through that process, but it was just the immense feeling of unsettlement and failure, really. It was, you know, lack of sleep, stress, worry.
Was that your fault?
Yes, probably so. You know, it's my name above the door, so everything that goes right is my idea, and everything that goes wrong is my fault. So yeah.
But you say it was the worst thing you ever had to do?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Because you were having to close the office because no one lost their job?
Yeah, just an enormous sense of failure. You know, but looking back on it now, I feel that sometimes you've got to go backwards to go forward. Yes. So that office is now having a refurb. We're putting some accommodation into it, and the goal is to reopen it as a satellite office as part of Neath Talbot once the refurbishment is done. But what it did do was kickstart a big change in the firm, which is to shrink the areas that we were covering, focus on what we're doing better. Sharing phone lines, that's something that has become incredibly difficult to do and manage, but it works really well. We've split our offices with evaluations, a sales under offer section, and our call rate has improved 25%. Email rate reply is down to almost instantly. The guys have worked really hard to do that. We've separated our sales conveyancing as well, so that we've got a dedicated team to do that. So from the worst morning of my life, having to make the decision to do it, came out of this a much better. Yeah, almost, yeah. And now it gets me excited again. So you kind of have to go backwards to go forwards.
Where's the future for the Peter Morgan Group? Because I mean, you're only 35 years old. Mm-hmm. You know, are you wanting to create a legacy for your children?
Yes, my my overwhelming sense of loyalty really is that, you know, I walked into this business thanks to my dad, and I've had a wonderful life, and I'm having a wonderful life from it. And I want Arthur to have the same option, that if he wants to come into it, he'll do very well. Or if he wants to go and do something else, then the business is enough to support him that he can do that. The goal for me, though, is to continue to grow in the right areas, which I do believe is financial services, lettings, and a better core sales, focusing more on the town centres that we're in, providing better service for a better fee.
And where do you see yourself developing personally?
There's always new skills to be learned, and there's always changes in the market that need to be addressed. The one thing that I'm trying to develop myself is that not to be so involved in the business so that I can work on the business.
That's really hard though, isn't it?
Impossible, because I love being involved in it for a start. You know, I get
If
up
you had
every
your
morning.
way, you'd be doing all the viewings and
Yeah, I love it.
taking the offers.
I work every Saturday. We do viewings on Saturdays and valuations. I still love that.
Do you still go out valuing yourself?
Yeah, all the listings. Yeah, and anything.
In
Really.
your branch or just a cover or
In my branch, yeah. So Neath Talbot, our head office, I've got myself and 2 other valuer listers. You know, and I still throw my toys at the pram 3 times a week if the guys have gone to a nice house. I'm like, why didn't you send me? I wanted to go to that one. And I drive around, me and my dad, we still both do it. We drive around. If there's a board that I haven't been to, I'm furious. And I ring the office. I was like, look in our emails. Have we been instructed? Why wasn't I there? Why didn't we get called out? And if I've been to it and I've lost it, that's even worse. So
we should remember, because we all go down the road, so been there. Oh, you got to see the bathroom in that one.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, you never get out that way,
No,
can you?
I don't think so, you know. And, you know, the same as that I drive around, if one of our boards doesn't look great, or if one of the photos of one of our houses isn't right, I want to go and redo it. But then the business suffers from that because I'm so involved in it. You know, trying to do performance reviews or training with the staff and spending time with them is hard when I'm doing 100+ appointments a week.
So is it suffering? Well, it can't be suffering because you're growing. What do you can't work all hours God send.
Yes, it's 24 hours in a day, so we find a way to work it out. You know, but it's still managed to train. I find that physical fitness is important for me. It keeps me on the straight and narrow. Arthur keeps me busy, as does Callie, and then the business as well. But it's definitely a balancing act to keep them all going.
It's like spinning plates, isn't it? You happy though?
Always, yeah. I actually am. You know, I love my job. I get up every morning to go into property. I love it.
And you've done some wonderful things for charity. I think you seem to cycle John O'Groats to Land's End, and you go through the whole length of Wales for prostate cancer. Do you have a connection with that? Is there someone in the family?
So in Wales, it's a fantastic charity that is run essentially only from donations and money raised. We were fortunate enough to be asked to be ambassadors in my financial services, so we work with them. But when I heard the story through somebody else of the work that they did, it was during lockdown. I wanted to do something. I decided that I can't be hard cycling downhill from Scotland to Cornwall, so we decided to plan it, you know, a few months of planning with my good friend, and we'd arranged it, and I didn't even own a bike, never cycled before. So then committed to it, told lots of people about it so that I had to do it, and off we went and haven't looked back. So,
do you wish you'd have done anything differently on the run up to it?
No, because it put me in the position that I am where I am from it, so everything's a lesson. You know, there's no point looking back.
Do you wish you'd have done a bit more preparation?
Oh, 100%. And drunk less, probably.
So you got on the bikes every morning with a hangover?
Yeah, every single morning, without fail. So
that's lads and bands, isn't it?
Exactly. You know, we burned on average 3,500 calories a day, averaging 100 miles. So, you know, if you ask me, 5 pints of Guinness is just simply topping back up
of course it is.
The levels.
If you come back in 10 years' time, what will I expect to see?
Hopefully exactly the same. You know, I'm fortunate that I've got a good home life, a good business, good staff, good friends. As long as I'm happy and healthy, I'll keep it going. But 10 years' time, what I'd like to have is a bigger footprint of the business that we have, more good people working for me, hopefully raising more money for Prostate Cymru. I work with agents together as well, as you know, so if anything that I can give back and help, I can. You know, we're working with the local college at the minute and speaking to them about taking some apprentices on. We did a few last year. I'd like to get into coaching and helping people into it. There's a lot of people that I think will benefit from what I've been through from a family business point of view, that just because your dad did it doesn't mean you have to do it. Or if he did it well, doesn't mean you're going to do it well. And vice versa, if they did it poorly, it doesn't mean you can't fix it and do it well. So I'd love to be able to look back in 10 years and say, well, I helped that person and that person, you know. One of the people that came to me for work experience ended up staying with me for a year, then went on to work abroad, and now works in London as property surveyor. And he still gives me a little mention on his LinkedIn profile saying thanks to the work that we did. So things like that really set me off. I enjoy that, and I think that's something to look back on as a legacy.
Well, Jonathan, it's been exceptional chat, and after this I'd like to do some short topic videos which you'll be able to check out on my YouTube channel, and thank you for your time today.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Wonderful to get you.